Hello everyone, welcome back to our series on chatbots. Today we're going to look at prompting. Prompting is simply providing the input to the AI system. We call it prompting because it's different to how you might search for something on Google. So with a search engine, you enter your question and you get a list of results ordered by what Google thinks is most relevant. And currently there's not much AI involved in that at all, although that is starting to change. The results that are returned are based on Google's ability to catalogue websites, and that's influenced by many factors, very few of which actually have anything to do with your search query. They're largely to do with how well visited the site is, how well the website is built, and how well indexed the content is. Obviously, it's searching for keywords from your question in the results that it's looking at, but Google won't come up with anything new. It will only retrieve information that already exists, and the order it returns results in is very heavily weighted by which websites, which search results it evaluates to be the most popular websites, which doesn't necessarily equate to being the best answer. Whereas prompting with a chatbot such as ChatGPT is not a one-off event. It's not a single question. It's a conversation, and a dynamic conversation. You can engage in a dialogue-like interaction. You can have follow-up questions, and you can refine your prompt. So prompt engineering involves carefully crafting your inputs or requests to AI models such as ChatGPT to get the best outcomes. You can think of it as asking the right question to get the most helpful answer, and also how you then develop that conversation. So we've got a big section on the AI Academy pages here on gcf.community about prompting. So if you go to events and Max 7 AI Academy, you'll end up here, and then we've got all the Max 7 AI Academy pages down the left-hand side of the page here, and you'll see that we've got the manual here. If we click through to the manual, you'll see that you can access the different chapters that we've already got up. So you can access those online, and you can also access all of that content as PDFs. And if you click on these download buttons, that will take you over to the AI Academy on Max 7. Let me just show you that. So the AI Academy on Max 7, you've got the introductory videos here, and you've got the training manuals. So part 1, which is the introduction, and part 2, which is the prompting. And to download those, you simply click on that, click on download, and then you might have to, the first time you do it, you might have to accept terms and conditions, and then you can just download the PDF. So let's go back over to here. As well as downloading it from Max 7, you can also access this online. And the advantage of that is that you can translate it. So if you are a Portuguese or Spanish speaker, and I'm going to add other languages here as well in the course of the next couple of days, then you can translate this content. So you can immediately translate this to Spanish, for example. And you can see that this is, it's an automated translation, obviously. So it won't be perfect, but hopefully it will be enough to give you a good idea of what's going on with the content machine translated into Spanish. So let's just go back to English, seeing as my Spanish is dreadful. So if we go across to AI Academy, we can see we've got the different chapters, and today we're going to look at prompt ideas. So as I say, there's a huge amount of content already on the website here, and I'm not going to go through this in detail, but I do encourage you to read through it. It's super, super helpful. It gives you a really good background. It covers things such as positive prompts and negative prompts, follow-on prompts, the ways that prompts are constructed, different ways of building your prompt and how you might want to develop it in conversation, and other things that you should take into consideration when prompting. So I will leave you to read that. But what we will do now is we'll start looking at a couple of basic prompt techniques, many of which are related to what's on the GCF community website. So let's start with some basic prompt techniques, one of which we can call direct prompts. So these are very straightforward requests. So this might be something such as summarize the story of David and Goliath. It's a very direct, straightforward prompt, and that will give you an answer which is probably quite good. But if you give it a more open-ended prompt, then it can give you things that maybe you wouldn't be able to get from Google. For example, what do you think are the lessons from the story of David and Goliath? And we'll see what ChatGPT thinks about that. So it's talking about fear, about faith over fear, underdogs can win, resourcefulness and strategy matter, persistence and preparation, and it's backing all of these up with elements from the story as it goes on. Ultimately, the story is a metaphor for overcoming obstacles that seem insurmountable through faith, courage, and cleverness. Now, you may not agree with that analysis, and I would definitely encourage you to always have a high degree of skepticism with results that you receive in ChatGPT. It's a great tool, but it does make mistakes. It emphasizes things incorrectly sometimes. It even says on the page here, look down at the bottom, ChatGPT can make mistakes. So it does have its limitations, but where it is really good is in kind of helping you to develop your thinking. So I would definitely encourage you to look at it not so much as a one-stop shop to give you an answer to one question, but a way in which you can help your mind to think more creatively about a question or a scenario that you have. So let's explore some more advanced techniques, one of which we can call a role-based prompt. So let's start a new chat. To do that, we click up here, new chat, and we're going to type in act as a Sunday school teacher and explain the meaning of the prodigal son. So here we're the role-based prompt concept is we're telling ChatGPT to act as a Sunday school teacher. So let's see what ChatGPT comes up with. Okay, so it's giving us an overview. It gives us a simple breakdown of the story. And as we scroll down, it's going into a lot of detail here, and then starts to unpack the meaning of the parable with what the father represents, what the prodigal son represents, what the older son represents, and a summary of what the parable teaches. So because we've given it that very specific instruction about what role it should take, it's given us a response which includes something that's relevant to that role, i.e. what the actual meaning of the parable is. Another way to use ChatGPT is a scenario-based prompt, and I think there's some content on this in the manual. Let's do an example on this. So a scenario-based prompt is where you give ChatGPT a scenario. So ChatGPT, imagine you're organising a youth retreat. What activities would you plan to teach teamwork? So here we're giving it the scenario of a youth retreat. So we're not just saying what activities would you plan to teach teamwork, or even what activities would you plan to teach teamwork to youth. We're saying do that within the context of organising a youth retreat. And it will come up with various activities here, and you could look through those. You might want to drill down into more detail with some of those. Okay, let's do something else. Oh yeah, so you can also do contextual prompts, such as let's do another one here, a new chat. So the context here is that we're saying, given that it's Easter is approaching, suggest a family activity that reinforces the resurrection story. So obviously the context being the time of year that we are laying out to ChatGPT, and asking for a very specific activity that reinforces a very specific story or a very specific message. So lots of different ways that you can use prompts, and as I say, there's far more detail in that on the types of prompts page in the AI manual. So you go to the AI manual, types of prompts. That's the latest chapter that we've got up there on the website. So when you're crafting prompts, you will get let's go back to ChatGPT. You'll get a much better response if you're specific and concise. So for example, this is an example of a vague question. A vague question would be, how can AI help in children's ministry? That's very, very open-ended. And the response that you get from ChatGPT won't be very focused. It might give you lots of really interesting information, and some of those might help you to think about things in a different way. But it's not very specific. Whereas if you go for something that's more specific, and we can even continue this in the same thread. Let's get more specific with, how can AI tools assist in creating interactive Bible stories for children aged 5 to 10 to enhance engagement during holiday clubs and Bible schools? So that's much more specific than how can AI help in children's ministry. And we'll see here that that ChatGPT then makes its response much more relevant to it being interactive Bible stories, relevant to the age group, relevant to the context of it being holiday clubs and Bible schools, and so on. You also want to avoid ambiguous questions. So I'm going to start a new thread here. Here, I'm going to ask an ambiguous question. What are some good teaching methods for children? Now that's a very ambiguous question. What does good mean? In what context are we talking about good teaching methods? And again, ChatGPT will be very cooperative. I'm so sorry, my cat has joined me. Okay, I've dealt with the cat. So, as I was saying, what might be a better way of asking the question would be less ambiguous, would be, what interactive teaching methods can help children aged 6 to 10 retain Bible stories better during Sunday school sessions? And then we've got ChatGPT then responding with something which is much more focused, much more appropriate to the question, and ultimately likely to be much more useful. So chatbots really come into their own when you actually chat with them. Your interaction with a search engine is a single question. This is not the case with a chatbot such as ChatGPT. You can properly engage in conversation. So, for example, and I've used this example before. Let's ask the question. Okay, now you can see here, this is good. This has come up actually. You've hit the free plan for limit ChatGPT -40, 40. So if you're on the free plan, the GPT-4o is its latest model, and on the free plan you only get a certain amount of tokens with that model. So after you've been using it for a certain amount during the day, and obviously I'm using it a lot at the moment, then your access to GPT-4o will cease and you'll be downgraded to a lower model. Generally, this isn't a problem, but if it's important for you to be on GPT-4o all the time, you would need to subscribe for the $20 a month plan. It gives you more up-to-date information, and because its training has been extended, and it's got various improvements, but the other models of ChatGPT are still very, very useful. So for the moment, we'll ignore that. Okay, so this is an example I've used before. Creating a brochure for a Christian holiday program. I want you to write 5 benefits for attending, each benefit to be no more than 50 words. Your tone of voice should be approachable, friendly, reassuring, and inviting. is to convey integrity, trust, so on. Target reader is likely to be parents of children aged 7 to 11. Be clear and avoid jargon. Right, let's see what ChatGPT comes up with. Okay, so it's got these different areas, so that's fine. But as I was saying, because you can engage it in conversation, you can actually start to refine it. Now, you can say, actually, I've changed my mind. I want this to be for parents of teenagers aged 15 to 18 and assume that the parents know nothing about Christianity. And ChatGPT will then write a different response. So it will be similar to the first one, but it will take into account the how your instructions have changed. Okay, so I think that's it for this session. You might need to watch this session again, as we've covered a lot. I recommend that when you do watch it, you have another browser window open with ChatGPT. You can then pause the video and try things out that we've covered in this session. And do go and take a look at the manual on the website. Either on the website here over on gcf.community, or access AI Academy on Mac 7, and you can download the PDFs from there. And I'll see you in the next video, where we'll talk about drawbacks, limitations, pitfalls, and misunderstandings.